Hello and welcome. It's a Thursday, the 16th of March, and this is my second vlog of the month. Thank you for sending in all your questions. I've had quite a bumper bag of them this week. And please encourage others to send in their questions and also to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So first of all, there's Andrea from Margate, and there's also Katie from Manchester. You have both mentioned something that you have found disturbing. So I shall read through. It appears that you have both had staff training at work, and you can't really say how it relates to your work, but there's an element where staff members are being asked to spy on each other. You say, we've been allocated a reception bell, and if we find another member of staff saying or doing something wrong, we have to ring the bell. You both say you feel uncomfortable about this. Well, Andrew and Katie, all I can say is it's not new. Tony and I, over the years, because of course with grey hair we're very ancient, we've had very similar training. Only in our case, we were given a clicker, click, click, click. And also, what was the other thing we heard? A dog whistle. So, at first, of course, we found this very amusing, but of course it was very insulting. And it makes you wonder why companies are spending money on this sort of thing rather than improving their employees' skills. And the answer is, it's a form of conditioning. And there tends to be in society this need to get people to comply to whatever is going on, and it is particularly used by politicians. Governments of all colours do or say something to trigger a response, and this polarises opinion. It must be remembered that in this country, in the UK, any one party to pass the winning post only needs about 10 million votes. Over the years, we have all fallen foul of these dog whistle tricks, which then leads on to the topic that I've had the greatest number of messages about. I've had 146, and they're asking for my opinion. Of course, for those who don't know, there's been a huge debacle about recent tweeting by the wonderful footballer and TV presenter Gary Lineker, and he's been asked to step back from the BBC's flagship sports show Match of the Day. So for those of you outside our shores, a brief little history of what's been going on. There are thousands of refugees and asylum seekers seeking to come to the UK by crossing the English Channel, and many of the government want it to be stopped. Many agree with the policy, but there are equally those who disagree, and they think that the policy is racist and illegal. Personally, I don't think the policy is racist at all, but I do think it's inhumane and unnecessary. And the language used at times has been blatant lies, exaggeration at the best, but above all, offensive. And that's my personal opinion. Now, Gary Lineker is accused of calling the government Nazis, which he didn't. It's claimed that the Jewish community and the Jewish organisations are offended by his tweet. It is also claimed that he broke rules of impartiality as a presenter of the BBC, and in their view it proves he and the BBC are socialists. Many of the Tory party have called for the BBC to sack Lineker. So let's go and actually have a look at what Lineker's tweet says. And I've got it here. It's a cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people in a language that is not dissimilar to that used by Germany in the 1930s. Okay, it's a strong viewpoint, but the tweet is not factually incorrect. Similar language was used in the day, in the 1930s, in the national press in the UK and in Germany, which led to the rise of the atrocities of the 1930s and 40s. Articles in the UK which were written in the same vein actually led to the rise of Oswald Mosley and the British Union of Fascists, referred to as black shirts, which expressed similar views as Hitler, and they regularly raised lynch mobs. So what Gary Lineker was saying was not incorrect. Unwise, perhaps, I don't know, it's up for others to say. But all he was saying, in my view, was just giving a warning that history could repeat itself. Now, my Jewish friends tell me that they support Lineker's tweet wholeheartedly, and I've not actually seen articles that have suggested that other Jewish communities and organisations disapprove. But personally, again, I'd be very surprised if any Jew or Jewish organisation did deplore the warning that Lineker was giving. The dog whistle from the government and the reaction of the sacking of Gary Lineker from the BBC is purely because they picked the wrong fight. Gary Lineker has a huge following, and they felt that what he says could have an effect on the numbers of people that might vote Tory. But, of course, if you blow a dog whistle, don't be surprised if occasionally the dog turns and bites your ass. I would say the BBC, in their fear of upsetting the government, have allowed politically motivated people to affect the decisions that they make. The reason I say that the boat policy is unnecessary is because, in my opinion, they've created the situation themselves, unwittingly, all the same, but it is relatively easy to resolve. In 2018, there were 539 people crossing the channel. In 2019, the government decided to stop all the legitimate routes to come through for refugees. Thereby, it meant they were open to the prey of the people smugglers, and this is why there's been a huge increase in the number of people's crossings. We're now getting thousands on a weekly basis crossing, where in the whole year of 2018 we only had 539. And the huge increases in numbers means we have to deal with them, and this is why they are ended up being accommodated in hotels. We have been told that the cost of accommodating in hotels is up to £8 million per day. So that makes it £56 million per week, which in turn is nearly £300 million per year. And because of these figures quoted, and also the language used to describe some of the people coming across on the boats, this has increased the chance of people being attacked. And in fact, there was a lynch mob that attacked a hotel, and some of the boat people were seriously hurt. And this is an example of what Gary Lineker means about be careful about the language that we use. The government say that the first thing they want to do is stop the boats. Well, the answer is quite simple. Reopen the legitimate routes and even create more of them. The number of channel crossings would drop to the levels of 2018, if not less, or fewer. For those who say that it'll be too expensive, all I can say is for £56 million a week that's been spent on hotel accommodation could easily cover what I suggest. Post-war, there have been all sorts of dog whistles in the UK, and when it comes to immigration, how many of you remember the Windrush people? Idi Amin's Uganda, India, Bangladesh, and of course the Polish. That's just to name a few. And of course it's all nonsense when you actually then analyse the figures subsequently. And the effect they have on our community is not as strong as some would imply. I think it's time to move on to something a little different. This morning, Tony sent me this. It's a little article. Here we go. Researchers have discovered a new species of octopus in the depths of the Pacific Ocean. It is capable of changing not only its colour and its texture, but also its shape. This helps it blend into the surroundings, allowing the octopus to hide from its predators and sneak up on its prey. The new species has been named Octopus mutabilis. Fascinating, isn't it? Now I have to tell you that it's all utter and complete nonsense. Tony went to the chat GPT AI system and said, give me a false fact, make up a fact, right? And that's exactly what's happened. The system invented the fact about the octopus. Well, is that a dog whistle too? I don't know. Anyway, thank you for listening again. When you next come across a dog whistle, I suggest you just cock a leg. Until next time, toodle pip.